Thanks for the introduction, Vladka. Good morning to all from my side. I'm Konstantinos Georgoulias. I'm the Director of EU Affairs and of the Regional Innovation Scheme at EIT Manufacturing. EIT Manufacturing is one of the new knowledge and innovation communities of EIT. It was designated at the end of 2018. In 2019, we had our startup year. And in 2020, we have been deploying fully our operations. It's our first year of full operation. And we're now gradually seeing the results of our activities. You will see in my presentation a general introduction of EIT Manufacturing, what we do, where we focus thematically, but also what kind of activities we're deploying. But first of all, why manufacturing? Why we have the knowledge innovation community in manufacturing? You can see in this slide some numbers which more or less depict the importance of manufacturing. Manufacturing is a global base for prosperity and key for Europe. We have more than 2.1 million manufacturing companies in Europe. The large majority of them, more than 2 million, are SMEs. Manufacturing gives work to more than 32 million jobs, to 32 million people. Actually, in the latest statistics, this number is around 36 million. And a lot of these jobs are in the growing high-tech manufacturing industry. And also regarding financials, you can see the importance of manufacturing, looking to the more than 16% of the European GDP, as well an impressive total turnover of more than 7 trillion euros. Now, EIT Manufacturing is a public-private partnership funded by the European Institute of Innovation and Technology, a body of the European Union. We represent more than 50 major European manufacturing players from industry and academia. And we plan to double our partnership in the next couple of years. We offer especially SMEs and startups easy access to participate in our network. We want to have a very wide geographical distribution of our partnerships and of the activities that we are deploying. We are focusing on promoting the knowledge triangle integration. The knowledge triangle integration there, we're talking about the three corners, research and innovation, education, and business creation, as well as go-to-market strategies. Our first funding period runs from 2020 to 2026 for a total of 7 years, that can be extended to 7 more years. And as I also said before, we're really looking forward to have a pan-European network of wide geographical distribution. Our vision is that global manufacturing innovation is led by Europe. And in order to do that, our mission is to bring manufacturing actors together and have ecosystems that will offer not only products, but also services and innovative processes that will inspire the creation of globally competitive and sustainable manufacturing. Here you can see our objectives and our approach. We put a lot of emphasis on skills, manufacturing skills, and preparing the manufacturing workforce for the digital age and for the modern technologies that are continuously coming, especially, however, this period of Industry 4.0, of artificial intelligence, of looking to have a more green transition in general of our economy. And in order to do that, we want to have and to establish powerful manufacturing innovation ecosystems. Our hubs really help us on that in order to engage with the local communities, the local players, and the local manufacturing companies in order to establish these ecosystems. Another important objective for us, and it has been seen as also during this period of COVID, that we're talking about that we need to have, apart from a globally competitive, also a resilient manufacturing that can indeed, let's say, be able to respond to a crisis and to be, let's say, in a way that can still produce the products that are needed by the society, even in the periods of crisis. And of course, environmentally sustainable manufacturing. In order to do that, we focus on the three corners of the knowledge triangle that we said before: education, innovation, and business creation. I will go through shortly regarding these programs, but very shortly because we do not have a lot of time. But for example, in the education program, we have three groups of activities that we deploy: empower, engage, and connect. For example, in the empower program, we're going to deploy bachelor, master, PhD programs. We're going to have professional trainings at the workplace. We're going to have professional trainings around the workplace, as we call it. In the Connect program, we're talking about teaching and learning factories, as well as deploying online platforms. For example, what we call the guided learning platform, that will be able to provide specific educational and training modules towards a specific skill, for example. And in the Engage program, we're talking about engaging society and pupils, showing to them how modern manufacturing is and how attractive manufacturing is, and eventually have them consider to join manufacturing in the future for their careers, etc. In the innovation program, we have the launch, develop, grow. For the launch, we're talking about indicating specific hotspots where we could launch solutions. In the develop, we're talking about bringing new technologies to market. And in the grow, we're talking about developing new value chains. In the business creation, it is more or less, I think, understood from the titles of these groups. It's about create businesses, accelerate and transform, create new businesses, accelerate existing ones, and transform existing already, let's say, companies, enterprises that would like to transform, for example, do some kind of digital transformation. Thematically, these are four flagships that we're currently following. We could say that this is more technical now. These flagships are more or less indicate our focus areas, and they're going to be updated when it is needed. It is not, let's say, something cast and concrete, but right now we're focusing on additive manufacturing for full flexibility, waste-free manufacturing for circular economy, people and robots for sustainable work. More or less, they're about human-robot interaction and optimizing this kind of interaction in terms of efficiency, safety, etc., and platforms for digitalized value networks. You can see here some ambitious goals that we have about a very large number of startups to be created, about sustainable production practices to be adopted, and what is very important also about training, reskilling, and upskilling a lot of Europeans. In this schema, I will not stay long, but you can see also how through what we said before, you can see that more or less everything there has already been mentioned. Our programs, our objectives, our tools, and this is a kind of a roadmap of how we're going to implement the impact that we envision. In parallel, we have the EIT Manufacturing RIS program. This is the EIT Regional Innovation Scheme. The idea there is to enhancing the innovation capacity of EIT risk eligible countries. In order to do that, we have a specific strategy. We are establishing and operating together with partners of ours the EIT Manufacturing Hubs, as well as in Croatia, in order to build our ecosystem and help us expand the growth, as well as be a kind of interaction point in order to have organizations and individuals join EIT Manufacturing and collaborate with us. We follow a decentralized approach in the sense that the programs that we deploy in EIT risk countries consider the specifics of the countries, the advantages, the disadvantages, the strong points, the weak points. So we have this kind of customized approach for EIT risk countries. Here you can see our partnership, around 50% coming from industry and 50% from our universities and RTOs. From the industry, as you can see, we cover a lot of sectors like automotive, aerospace, robotics, manufacturing equipment manufacturers, consumer goods, white goods, etc. And that is all from my side. I will thank you very much for your participation and your interest in EIT manufacturing. And now I will ask Hannes to continue with the presentation of CLC East. CLC East covers is, let's say, connected or related to a large number of EIT RIS countries. And Croatia is one of the countries which is related to our CLC, to our co-location, which are, let's say, centers that help us connect with a large set of countries. And I will also be here through the whole event. We can also discuss later on, and I will be happy to also answer any questions that you may have. So thank you.
Thank you, Konstantinos. At the moment, we don't have any questions in the chat, but so we will move to Hannes's presentation, and then afterwards maybe there will be additional questions. And of course, it is good that you can stay for the duration, because I'm sure later on, especially when we discuss the innovation ecosystem, there will be there will be points where you can absolutely jump in. So as Konstantinos mentioned, the next presentation is by Johannes Hunšovský, who is our director for CLC East. So CLC East is our region, the region Croatia is in, and his presentation is geared especially towards innovation community here. So not to add too much, I would like to introduce Hannes to you. He has, before he joined EIT Manufacturing, he has rich career in the manufacturing industry globally, and I believe he serves on boards of several companies, on advisory boards or board of directors. So I'm really hopeful and really happy that he's working with us here in this region, and he will help us to connect better with the wider community. So with that in mind, Hannes, please, if you can start your presentation.
Sure. Thank you so much for this nice introduction. I am trying to share my presentation. And I hope you can see it.
Not yet.
Not yet. Well, then let's try that again. How about now? How about now?
It is there. It's not still, yeah.
And now in full screen. Very good.
Yes,
well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate that. We are extremely happy that we can be part of this Manufacturing Hub Croatia launch. We are wishing you all the best, keeping our fingers crossed that you are able to achieve whatever you put for yourself in there, and we are here to help and support. And that's why I changed a little bit my presentation and made it a little bit more specific, and include some of the programs and the and the tools that we're going to put forward for you guys to tap in and to get a little bit of feeling of what's coming up in the next 6 months. Yes, I was 40 years in the industry, little companies like GE and Herbiger and others. And at my height of my activities in the private industry, I was running 14 manufacturing plants from China to India to Europe and the United States. So, you know, it's I'm still surprised some days what I see, but I've seen a lot. So big surprises are unexpected. So let me start with zooming in a little bit on EIT Co-location Center East. We are here to support and cover the countries that are colored here in red, which you see here is including Croatia. Unfortunately, right now, because of COVID, we can't travel that much, but I'm really looking forward to meet with you guys locally, be introduced to some of the manufacturing plants and industries that you have in your region, and have a discussion there with the executives to see how we can help and support the growth for those companies. We are here located in beautiful Vienna. We are in a building that is part of a brand new technology center in the southeast of Vienna. We have a nice office here. And what you will like, we have right now these employees and a female employment ratio, gender ratio of 83.33%. This might change as we go along, but this is how it is right now. You see Sonia, our office manager, Katrin, who is supporting our risk countries, Jasmina, who is taking care of business creation, myself, Teresa in communication, and we have Caro, who is helping out wherever need be. What does the EIT Manufacturing Network look like? And I put that up here, although Konstantinos has talked about it, because this is my slide where I talk about creating new memberships. And we know creating new memberships right now is a real bite in the butt, because it's really difficult to go out to companies proactively, even with everything we offer, and say, hey, we would like you to join us. Membership is 75,000 a year. And they say, are you insane? I just fired 200 people. So it's really difficult to be proactive in the activity of creating new partnerships. However, there is something called activity partners, which is the opportunity for any kind of industries, particularly small and medium, but also for larger companies as a kind of a first touch and feel with EIT manufacturing and projects, to get into projects, take over work packages, and experience the spirit that we have in those consortia, developing new ideas for the industry. So becoming an activity partner is relatively easy. From next year on, the cost is 10,000 euros for 1 year. And if you're an SME, you can continue to be an activity partner over years. If you're a large company, activity partnership is only for 1 year, and then we are expecting you to join. The beauty of the activity partnership is really that you are working with work packages, even in an industrial setting, that you pay 10,000, but you also get money for the participation in those projects. And it is for you guys a really interesting tool to engage new companies and bring them into the EIT Manufacturing Network. Konstantinos has talked about our strong and unique partnership, and I distilled out the companies that are for the EIT Manufacturing East Network. We have many famous universities from Prague and Slovakia and Vienna. We have Atos, we have a large and very recognized research center with UNM Research. We have Magna, and we have the LMS from the University of Patras. And then on the right, you see some of the names that are activity partners in several projects that we are working on. And that's exactly what I mean. If we can get new industries involved as activity partners, this is at the current state probably the best way to introduce new future partners as we go along. This is our hub network. The 3 on the left are hubs that are also partners. The 5 on the right are new hubs, including yours. This is alphabetically, so you're not on the top list here because Croatia is coming past Bulgaria, but we are extremely proud to have you guys being part of our network, and we really appreciate the opportunity working with you. So let me get into some specifics, because I think the most attractive thing for growing a relationship with EIT Manufacturing is getting involved with some kind of the projects we are doing, some kind of the events we are having. And this is the Boost Up event that we have now promoted for several weeks. It's a Europe-wide competition, but we do it in the 5 CLC centers as a preliminary or a pre-final competition, and the winners then go to the European finals. And you can see that we have this competition in 3 categories: create, accelerate, and transform, depending on how far those startups are already developed and what their needs are. The event for CLC East is on October 29th and 30th. It's open access. Everybody can participate through online. We're going to be sending out the link probably next week. We still have some spaces available for the physical event. We're going to make this as a hybrid event that is here in Vienna. So if anybody is interested, we're more than happy to send you guys a VIP invitation for you to come to Vienna and join us physically. Overall, we have had more than 150 applications, 42 just from the CLC East. We have 10 countries participating in CLC East. We have 16 jurors from business, academia, and investment ecosystems. We have 3 keynote speakers. Paul Rübig is coming to speak to us. He worked with the European Parliament for 24 years. He's now a member of the governing board of EIT. He's also owning an industrial company here in Austria, and I know him for several years. So he's a very nice guy, and I'm looking forward. He's speaking about the importance of Europe and the importance of manufacturing, so that's going to be an interesting talk. We're also going to bring in virtually Mark Gallagher, who I know for many years. He used to be CEO of Formula One Cosworth engine team. He's now still vice president of Red Bull, and he has done some transform activities when he was working for McLaren, I think, where they created really good processes and new tools that they needed for their own production company. You know, imagine how fast parts need to be replaced in Formula One. And then they took that whole thing and made it available and spun it off for other companies, and he's talking about that. And then on Friday, we have Galinde Kaltenbrunner. She is the first woman climbing all 14 8,000 summits without oxygen. And this lady just, blows me off every time I hear her speak, because it's unbelievable, the achievement that she had in mountaineering. The online participation is for free. We have some available tickets for the event. Again, if you are interested, send me an email. I'm going to send you an invite. And let's hope that the COVID situation let us still come together in 2 weeks in Vienna and have that as a live event as well. EIT Manufacturing Boost Up from Croatia, 9 companies applied. We have several in Accelerate, 1 in Transform, and 3 in Create. I'm not sure in the pre-selection who's going to actually in the pre-finals here in Vienna, but many of those have provided really good proposals, and I'm really excited about so many taking part from Croatia. What are the other upcoming events and services I wanted to talk about? We're going to have an EITM East conference that we make together, Konstantinos and I, on November 30th. That's a Monday. And that is designed really to introduce yourself or bring in some experiences of the past. It's also designed to have space for dissemination. We will hear some of the results of the research projects that were done in this year. We might see some of the projects that we are gonna fund next year. So this is a really good opportunity for you to connect to the activity partners, to our members, to the other hubs. And it's open platform, anybody can join, anybody can listen in. And the invite is going out soon, and I encourage you as the hub in Croatia to think about how you want to participate, what it is you would like to present, and send me that. The speaker slots are 15 plus 5. So it's a good opportunity to introduce yourself, your needs or your opportunities that you can provide. On December 15th, we're going to make a pre-matchmaking event. This is something that Christian Bölling from CRC Central and I decided to do in order to create already some kind of a call it portfolio or map or cluster, whatever you deem appropriate, to have a better idea going into the matchmaking. And our hope is that with the earlier selection and bringing partners together on a smaller scale, we will create a much better cluster of high quality projects that we would like to put forward. So this is a really good opportunity for your members down there that would like to start engaging into innovation projects, particularly as activity members. This is good to go forward and say, hey, I'm having a technology here that might make sense for you. Why don't we consider rolling it out or integrating it with you? So if this is taking off the way I think it will, then we will have a second pre-matchmaking event in January of 2020. And then we go in the EITM matchmaking event in February, and then the pre-call in March. As far as services, there are 3 things that I wanted to point out. We are launching our guided learning platform. If you haven't heard about that, there will be so-called nuggets, so like short 30-minute learning experiences in all kinds of categories. And we want to create a mass of those very specific learning nuggets that will allow corporations or institutions to create their own curriculum that fits into their learning needs of the organization. And I think this is a really good idea. This could be really helpful, particularly also for small and medium enterprises. And I'm really looking forward to be able to present that to you. The next thing we're working on is the innovation platform. Here, think a little bit about LinkedIn on steroids. So really connecting the innovators in Europe, having the opportunity for dissemination in there, presenting project results, bringing together like-minded people, looking for certain or working on certain research projects and so on. And we think we're going to have a pre-launch of that one in Q3 of 2021. And here at EIT Manufacturing East, we are working together with the Industry Platform 4.0, which is a national platform here in Austria. And we want to do a pilot factory, fab lab, working space kind of inventory, meaning we would like to create a network of all the opportunities where people can try and test and work physically on activities from all the countries and put them together and have them kind of catalog that will show interested folks what kind of services are offered there, what kind of schooling and training opportunities are offered there. This will take a little bit longer. We're going to start that next year, and I hope we're going to get access to the Croatian pilot factory and fab lab network and be able to integrate them in our activities here. That's pretty much it. I hope I gave you some ideas and some motivation to engage with us and work with us and help us to create the manufacturing network that we need to make manufacturing in Europe stronger again for the future. Thank you so much. You are on mute.
I'm muted. Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you so much, Hannes. Thank you for this presentation, and it's really good to have a specific, I would say, timeline and knowing about things that we can engage with. Very happy about the, I would say, the pre-matchmaking, and this is definitely something that we were also thinking about to do, maybe, before the end of the year. So really happy that you are doing it, and we will talk how we can best connect and bring as many Croatian organization to this event. I don't have any questions in the chat, but I will pose a question, and it's both for Hannes and Konstantinos, and this is about the partnership, because the partnership is, I would say, the next level. So the programs that the KIK has and that we as a hub promote, some of them are of course open to the wider community. And this is, for example, the Boost Up, where any company from Croatia that fits the criteria could apply. But what happens when you're a partner, basically you do have a chance to take part in a consortia. And maybe if you can a little bit explain how are these consortia set up, or just give an example of a type of innovation project they work on, because we have also been in discussions with organizations locally and talking about this opportunity. So it would be good for any listeners who are interested in that to have maybe a little more information, maybe an example of a such project that was started, or a consortia that that is forming, to give us an idea what types of projects are expected and what sort of participation.
Okay. Do you want me to talk about it now?
About the innovation projects, but very briefly.
Yeah, okay.
Very briefly. Just innovation projects.
Let me do that as part of an example. We had a special funding on the COVID-19 issue in June, and it was very short term, but it was very attractive too. If a small company, in this case a company here in Austria, has an idea for a product, they need, first of all, they need a partner or a member that is actually putting the project in. And in many cases, this is a technical university, because they do have better networks usually than industries, understanding who can do what. They are much better in writing proposals than any industry I have seen. So they went to the technical university, and the technical university actually had interest in doing that. And then the technical university started putting together the project and what kind of work packages are needed to get to that product. And then the selection process comes of, okay, we need support from this university because they do research over there in Darmstadt or whatever, because you need a second CLC in every consortium. You need 2 CLCs in a consortium. Okay. And then And then you think about, okay, and then once we have the prototype, we would like to test it. And if we would like to test it, we need a smaller medium or, small and medium enterprise that would actually put that into their productions and look for a partner there. And so step for step, that consortium is developed. So the very beginning, and this is where we try to do the matchmaking, is in two directions. I'm a big company and I have this problem and I'm looking for new technology. Or I'm a small and medium company and I have a totally super idea, pilot product, or product already. And I would like to bring that to the next level, and I'm looking for partnerships to do that. Those are the two areas where we will bring, and you will see when we write out the participation for the matchmaking, we will have templates that will allow you to fill in those kind of information on a very preliminary level.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think this was exactly the information that we needed to sort of flesh it out, and it really does start, I would say, partly locally. So you do have this connection that you're trying to build, innovator or connection with the university, and then what is the EIT Manufacturing doing is basically bringing it to the European scale with new partners, with new connections, and with additional expertise that can bring it forward. So thank you so much. Yeah.
What I forgot to mention, if I may, just for 30 seconds.
Sure.
We are still building up our resources here at CLC East. We actually have two open jobs out there. One is for the innovation manager, and one is for a relationship manager for the risk countries. We are looking for, further up, we are looking for an education manager, a second business creation manager. So I would say within the next 6 months or so, we're going to be a team of 12 or so. And we are really building up that support that you need, okay?
Okay, all right. Thank you. If there are any questions, please, you can still pose them later on, but I don't see anything in the chat. So we are going to move to the second part of our event, and maybe, and now it's the chance, I would say, for our local speakers to present what is the status of manufacturing innovation in Croatia, to discuss some best practices, and also, I would say, what conditions we have and what conditions we still need to make our manufacturing innovation ecosystem stronger. Our next speaker is Assistant Professor Miro Hegedic. Miro is here. Yes. Okay. So hello, Miro. So he is a mechanical engineer, assistant professor at the University of Zagreb, Faculty of Mechanical Engineering and Naval Architecture, and Department of Industrial Engineering. What I know that Miro is working very closely with lots of industry partners in Croatia, but also working very closely with students, leading one of the PhD programs connected with manufacturing, and also very active, I would say, in supporting students to set up professional association in manufacturing and engineering. So Miro, we are very much looking forward to your presentation, and please go ahead.
Thank you, Vlatka, for this introduction, and thank you to the speakers which were talking before me, Johannes and Konstantinos. I'm really looking forward to see how EIT Manufacturing Hub will help Croatian manufacturing industry. So practically, it's my pleasure to talk about two things which are closely related, for me at least. This is something what I really enjoy working on, and this is manufacturing and innovation. Also, my presentation will have a double perspective. One perspective is connected to manufacturing itself, because I have been working with manufacturing companies for sometimes now on their innovation projects, but also I have been working from 2013 with startups on programs that support development of startup ideas. Practically, what I'm going to talk about is manufacturing innovation ecosystem. So practically, when we think about Innovation system itself, it is kind of a complex of different organizations that work together to create value. Those organizations can be from different areas, such as universities, entrepreneurs, governments, business organizations, and foundations that support other organizations. Sure, if we are talking about manufacturing, then we have manufacturers here, innovation labs, etc. For me, therefore, to be able to continue in the right way my presentation, I would like to ask you one question, and for that, I will ask you to take your phones. I know it's not usual during the presentations or when I do the lectures. I normally say don't use your phones, but this time I'm calling you to use your phone and go to the, or you can use PC as well, and go to the website, call menti.com, and then use the code 12063335 and answer the question. So I'm interested in to knowing, where do you work? Where are you coming from? I have given here several options. So there are enough of them, so you will be able to kind of approximately put yourself into a category. Okay, great. I suppose you also see the results. So practically we have a government, we have SMEs, we have large enterprises, we have entrepreneurs, business support organizations, and also others as well, and university education. So practically we would say we have manufacturing innovation ecosystem here with us. So I will try to take this into account. Okay, great. We are quite a diverse audience here. Practically, before we start to talk about innovation, let's see what is the current state of manufacturing in Croatia, and regarding the practically innovation potential. First of all, I would like to share with you one interesting research that was done in 2015, but I think now or in next few years it will be needed to repeat it to see if we did kind of improvement in any area that was researched during this this study. So practically, the professor Veja from Split and his team, they were trying to see what is the level of industrial maturity in Croatia, practically based on Industry 4.0 concept. So he got that results that Croatian industry on average is on 2.15. So practically this was very low number, and just several companies, I think one company in Croatia was higher than 3.5. And we are happy that we have here with us later talking company Končar, which got into like better results. I think the result was above 3. So this is one thing. The second thing is productivity of manufacturing industry. I took here our neighboring countries for the comparison, and on 3 indicators. Number of employees in industry, this is data for 2019, and practically we have number of employees in industry, in manufacturing exactly, gross value added in millions, and then we have calculated productivity as gross value added divided by number of employees. So if we compare ourselves to the neighbors, and I have put also Austria here just for the comparison, we can see that, for example, Slovenia has 0.74 times less employees in manufacturing, but it has 1.54 times bigger gross value added, and their productivity is 2.07 times bigger than productivity in Croatia. If we take, for example, Hungary, then we see that sure, they have more people working in manufacturing, but their productivity, is also 1.32 times bigger than productivity in Croatia. And if we take Austria, for example, then we see that they are 4.5 times higher in productivity. What could be the reason why is this so? I think we can also take a look into research and development expenditure per those countries. So in Croatia, in 2016, if we take metrics such as % of GDP invested in research and in development, then practically we will see that in 2016 we have around 0.84% of GDP investment in research and development. And if we compare this to other countries, which you can see on the graph, for example, Slovenia, I now see that Slovenia is the blue one, and Hungary is here. So practically all those countries are investing more into research and development, at least taking into account the metric of percentage of GDP. So I think this might be one of the reasons why there is higher productivity, because automatization, robotization in industry is higher, so less people create more labor. Also, one interesting thing which is connected to research and development expenditure is also the number of patents. So we are wondering how can we measure the innovation. So one of the possible, at least possible measures can be number of patents granted in country, but also on the European level. Patents from Croatia granted on the European level. So if we see here, there is not so many patents granted. It is around 80 something in 2019, and out of this 18, out of those 80 patents, there is around 50 patents which were submitted or granted to private people. So practically, we have lack of patents coming from the industry. If we put this into perspective of European Union, and then there is innovation index. So if we see how much patents each country creates or it's granted, and what is their innovation index, we see Croatia here. On the left corner down. So practically countries such as Czech Republic that have strong industry, we see that also there in the upper corner, they have quite intensive number or high number of patents, but also their innovation index is high. And I believe this is closely connected to manufacturing. Czech Republic is not a big country as for example Germany or some other bigger countries, but they have strong automotive industry, and automotive industry is, I suppose, one of the biggest kind of initiators of patents in Czech. So this is very important. Sure, in the last years, we have seen quite a high number of funding available to organizations for their innovation and research projects, especially for the collaboration between companies and universities and the research institutions. So we have something that's familiar to people that are coming from Croatia. This is EU program called, we call it EIT Phase 1. This call was finished, and it resulted in 87 projects practically total available funds were 748 millions of kunas. Currently, we are in the next phase, EIT phase 2. Sure, applications are closed, and now we are looking for the results. Also, my team has been participating as a partner in three of EIT 2 phase 2 projects. So we really look for the results. As for now, there are 24 projects already approved, which are practically total project value of 276 millions, and the grant was 160 million. So if we compare this to the total grant, so we see that there is still significant available funding for other projects. In total, there was 340 projects. So why am I showing this data? I'm showing this data to show you that there is interest from the companies, especially from the large enterprises, to invest into development, into research and development of new projects. And there are these 340 projects that were submitted. Practically the value of all projects is 5.6 billions. And sure, it's very competitive because 3.2 billions kunas are asked for as a grant, and there is availability only around 1 billion kunas. This EIT project and in EIT program is interesting because big companies can participate as well. So therefore, I think these 340 projects we have here. There is one more in EU fund. One more scheme that's available. So it's for business competitiveness, and it's especially for SMEs. It's for strengthening the capacity of SMEs for research, development, innovation. And it is encouraging their cooperation with scientific research organizations. As for now, this was on the 5th of October when I looked for the data, there were 92 projects. Total grant was 5,600,000 kunas. And it is very important to notice here that there is still 44 million kunas available for the cooperation between SMEs and scientific organizations, which is good number, but having in mind that the deadline for the application is 31st of December, and in the last 2 years we didn't manage to use a little bit. We managed this little bit over 10%. So practically we are kind of not using the potential. And in my opinion, this is common problem because SMEs in Croatia are lacking human capital for innovation. So I think here in the future we have to work the most. So to create a human capital that's going to be able to absorb available funds that are going to be available even more for SMEs to use on innovation projects. Universities are also working hard on many different projects regarding innovation in industry. I don't have so much time to talk about all the projects that we have at our faculty, of electrical engineering and other universities, not just University in Zagreb, but I will just mention one project that my research group is working on, and this project is connected with application of deep learning into real manufacturing settings. So practically, we are working on a new model that will allow us to detect motion in the manufacturing process using computer vision and deep learning algorithm. So this is just a photo from a real production, and this is where we are trying to detect the motion in real manufacturing setting. Also, just few more things. There are some steps being done into fostering innovation in Croatia. One of those is innovation councils, which were established in 2018. I'm very happy that we have Ernest here, who is one of the representatives or leaders, one of the innovation thematic innovation councils. So practically he could also give you more information about that. It is important to say that Croatian Chamber of Economy has managed to put together business, so people from the industry, people from university, and the people from the government, and 70% of all members of scientific councils or innovation councils are people from industry. So this is very important. So also there are, maybe I've lost you. I think I'm back now. There might be some problem, but now we are back. So practically there are also some activities that are done on local levels. So local government has put efforts to create also different initiatives which support creation of new businesses in manufacturing sector. So for example, production park Torpedo in Rijeka, they have established a space and they have bought equipment such as 3D scanners, 3D printers for metal, etc. that will help innovate faster for the local community. And just as just to conclude, one thing, practically manufacturing innovation ecosystem is still emerging in Croatia. Therefore, having EIT Manufacturing Hub in Croatia is of great significance for the Croatian manufacturing industry. Understanding of the current state of innovation in manufacturing is very important because, as you know, we are lacking structured data about what's happening in manufacturing, and especially when I was preparing this presentation, I realized that we are lacking also materials and information about what's happening with innovation in manufacturing. So extra efforts will need to be made from the research community into structuring the data. And as famous scientist and expert in manufacturing, Demings once said, without data, we are just another person with an opinion. So we have to get data, but structured data. And also, we think it is important to help SMEs use available funds for strengthening their capacity for research, development, and innovation. And at the end, create human capital in innovation management. I think we are still lacking that. And I can just give just short info that at our faculty, we are now working on new courses on innovation management, especially for postgraduate specialist studies. So I think this will be our contribution to the whole community. This will be for now it, and I'm open for questions.
Miro, thank you very much. Thank you for this presentation. I completely agree with you about this lack of data or issues with data. This is something that about the innovation ecosystem, and this is something that we run into quite frequently. We are also trying to set up the analysis. So to have, I would say, this overview that you presented, it's very, very valuable to us. And I would say that you also opened a lot of topics that we will probably touch upon more in the panel. So I would also feel free to jump in during the panel if you have specific questions with our speakers. We don't have any questions in the chat, so we are going to then move to the next presentation to Assistant Professor Žarko Janjić. Professor Janjić is actually coming from the industry partners, so from Končar Power Transformers, which is a joint venture between Siemens Energy and Končar, and he's head of the optimization of department there. So really in charge of I would say process optimization, digitalization, Industry 4.0. His background is electrical engineering, and he's, in addition to working in industry, he's also teaching at our Faculty of Electrical Engineering and Computing. So please, Professor Janjić, if you can connect and share your screen.
Okay, I shared my screen. I hope you could have seen it for a second. Okay, can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So thank you for the introduction. Thank you for the invitation. It's a great privilege to be here. So let me just start, and then I'll give you the all the information. So it's a rather practical presentation about innovations in productions that we are doing. First of all, I will give you a short introduction about what KBT is, just that you have a picture of what kind of products are we talking about, what kind of production, and then about some innovation topics, and I'm free afterwards to discuss any details that you are interested in. We are, as said before, a joint venture of Siemens Energy and Končar. So part of a big network. We are producing power transformers, HVDC transformers, so DC transformers, and shunt reactors. Power up to 1000 megavolt amperes or megawatts, maybe it's easier for you to understand, and the voltages up to 1000 kilovolts. We have around about 510 employees, and the turnaround yearly is about 100 to 150 million euros, of course, depending on the years. So this is just that you have a picture also of what kind of units we are producing. So quite big products, I would say, like a bigger van or a smaller truck. So you can get the picture of what we are talking about. Major, it's export business, and so in the last 10 years or more, it's quite steady percentage. We exported more than 98% of our products. Currently, the main market is US. So enough about general stuff. I hope you have a picture of that. And so regarding innovation in manufacturing, so I would say that in the last years, it's highly influenced or driven, however you want to call it, by digitalization, digitization, or Industry 4.0, however you want to call it. And most examples that you can see in the media or conferences and so on are some repetitive process productions. And there you have some robots, you have 3D printers and things like that. But what if you're quite different, and how to cope with that, and whether you can really do also something new and different. So just to have a comparison is we in KBT have 2 CNC machines. Not that we don't like to buy them, it's that whether the process really needs such machines. We have some other programmable machines and so on, but this is just that you form a picture. Our products are custom made. It's really defined by our customers, what are their expectations, and it's designed up to that. Series for us are 2 or 3 pieces, so quite a low number, and we don't have really standard components. Of course, we are buying valves or things like that, but I'm talking about, let's say, major pieces within the product itself. But still, even that, you can still do quite a lot. And this is just, let's say, for understanding what could be done. What I would say, what are the prerequisites? Although we are talking about innovations in manufacturing, basically you need to start somewhere else. Most of the things is connected in IT, so you have to get a really good base. Yeah. So data, you need to have data, and you need to store it digitally. Either we are talking about a database or a document management system, and then this is the base to start really building up anything which you can connect to that. Also processes. There you need to have defined and optimized processes. Digitalization will not solve it by itself. Yeah? So start with lean activities or things like that. Infrastructure is also a big topic. So unless you have wireless or LAN in production, there you really need some time and efforts to make all the prerequisites. And interfaces are really the key. So any system which might sound fancy or look very good for customers or for yourself, if you don't have the right interfaces to other systems, and if the systems are not connected to each other, it will not be really what you would like it to be, and the benefit of that will not be as good as you would like it. So 3 initiatives I will talk to you about, and they are summing up different activities, are smart digital assistants. So these are digital services, as we call it, on workplaces in production. Metal part tracking, so tracking metal parts from supplier until mounting them in the product, and measurements in production. And there we have very different topics. One is to measure some process values on some machines, incoming inspection or quality checks of, let's say, semi-products in production. So let's check a little bit on each of those topics. So smart digital assistants started as paperless, but as soon as we were thinking about that, and there it's not about replacing paper with a computer and getting rid of paper. It's about having the most actual drawings, documentation on the workplace. To do that, again, you need to have a document management system or PLM system and so on. Then it's much easier to have really fast results. So there you need to work on some, maybe, let's say, boring stuff, so that you can have interesting results. And so what was the main idea is that everything has to be done in an easy way. So the easiest would be that we have a shared drive, and that you have a PDF reader and a screen, and you just say, okay, find out your documentation. But everything what we wanted to do, we said that we want to make it smart. So what we did is that once the worker enters its code for the work order, you are automatically driven to the possible documentation that you're interested in, and you just select what you want to see. Afterwards, easy searches and so on. Have all the work instruction in an easy way, just for your workstation, not for all the workstations in the productions. So if you invest some time in filtering out, in figuring out what will make people's life easier, then it's really easy. And what we were able to achieve is that basically you don't need any training. People started using the system by themselves, and they were, let's say, self-motivated and teaching how to use it. In future, we want to add additional services. We see this only as a start. We want to have quality checklist, registration of time, checking for maintenance or asking for maintenance on the machine, and so on. Regarding the second topic that I was talking about, metal part tracking. So there we have around about, let's say 3,000 pieces of delivered to us, which are components for one unit that we are producing. And we had two problems. First is, how do you really check if everything is delivered? And the other thing is, when you store it on a big outside storage space, how do you know where exactly this is stored? And so we tested, and people were saying that it's impossible to use RFIDs with metal parts. We proved them wrong, but what we were happy is to have a working system. So we have a combination of fixed antennas that we check when the components are entering our premises, and immediately the status is changed in our ERP system, in the SAP. And then afterwards, with forklifters who have also GPS antennas, we know exactly where the goods are stored, and we can easily then afterwards find them. Yeah? Afterwards, we know we have portals entering in the production, and afterwards some smart boxes where we know that something is mounted on the actual transformer. One thing, for instance, where we would like additionally to have is the triangulation, that we don't rely only on forklifters, but for instance, this could be a project for the EIT Manufacturing Group, for instance, for a consortium or something like that. The next big topic, and here we have quite a lot still to work on, is the measurements in production. One part is to, for instance, check the air quality, which is quite important for the quality of our product, or getting process values from our machines in order to optimize their work, but also other things. So if you see here in the bottom, this is, for instance, one conductor. And you can imagine that if you want to have the precision within millimeters, and this is what we do require, it's quite hard for the incoming inspection to see whether this is really produced in an adequate way or not. So we are working on introducing 3D scanning as a, let's say, normal routine for such pieces. Of course, having 3D scanning for all the parts would be a total overshoot. So you have to figure out where it really makes sense and use the technologies where it's really needed and where it gives you benefits and results. Also, quality checks, we want to have sensors which will automatically check for some measurements of components during the production, and automatically field checklists, have automatic escalations if values are not within tolerances, and so on. So what you could have seen is that we have no 3D printers, we don't have self-moving robots, and so on. So I would say it's important to understand what you really need. Of course, we could have had some more fancy projects and have some of those, but it's important to understand what you really need and what will help your processes. And so I would say what you have to do always is keep in mind that any digital system will not solve your problems. It will help you, but you have to optimize it first. And you really have to work hard on making a good base. So all the IT systems and connections of different software systems that you have, databases and so on, this will give you a great boost that you can have results in an easy way afterwards and implement solutions quite fast. And as I said before, would be interesting or would be very important that you do the evaluation of what you need as a result during this optimization, whether it's value stream mapping or something like that, and not just looking at trends and selecting some systems that will be then afterwards not really implemented in the system and will cause, let's say, that you invest more time than what you gain out of the system. So this is in quite short, just how we see innovations in productions and what we are working on. So thank you very much, and open for questions.
Mute. Okay, thank you so much for this presentation, for the overview of what your activities. I think that the point you made, that you really need to understand your needs first. It's very important, and I would say for any community, for research community, for industry as well. So maybe the follow-up question, I have a quick question, is in terms of skills to understand your processes and to understand your needs, how would you gauge the industry situation in Croatia? Because it does probably require, I would say, some level of analytical approach to be able to understand yourself first. And of course, this is something that you as a company have been able to solve. But what is your opinion, in terms of having these skills available in other organizations?
I would say we started rather early with lean methods, together also with Miro and the group from FSB. We growed and learned together and tried out. And also we had some, let's say, questions from other companies to give them support. And there, using A3, using value stream mapping and so on, helps you really understand where you are. Because people often jump to conclusions and think that something will solve a problem that they have. So this self-evaluation is something that I think in a lot of cases we are still missing, to really understand where do you have some waste, non-value, time, and so on, and then to start solving that issue. Usually even, I don't know, 5 whys could be a way to understand whether you are talking about symptoms or the cause problem. And this, I think sometimes you have that solutions are just superficial, and then you have repeated errors and so on. So unless you really invest time to investigate things, then it's much harder afterwards.
Okay, thank you very much. We have another question that arrived in the chat, but for Miro. Miro, if you are with us, please,
Yes,
if you can unmute. Okay, so the question is basically asking for your opinion on the research community, because the people who are dealing with research funding and managing research funding or research and collaboration funding, what they're seeing is that many researchers, and I'm quoting, so unfortunately in our research community, many researchers give more importance to the equipment and buildings than to human capital. So what do you think about this approach? And is it good for the sustainable development of research activities? And I think this is a very tough question, so putting you on the spot there.
Yeah. It's a very hard question. First of all, thank you for the question. For me personally, I think that we are still lacking also in the research community, we are lacking equipment. So equipment is not it's not a bad thing. The other thing which we have a problem, especially at Faculty of Mechanical Engineering, is that at the moment, I think we have around 10 open positions, and we don't have applicants for positions into research. So I know that we have hard time to compete, for example, with industry because of the salaries that are constrained on the projects. And for example, on EIT projects, if you're a partner on the project, practically you can only cover the salary of new people that you are employing. Practically all other things such as travel expenses, etc., are part of the expenses the faculty has to cover. So investing in human capital for me, I think is very important. We have to be even better on this one. And why other are putting more efforts on an equipment? I think the reason is simple. There is no equipment yet. We need equipment, and now it's question which one do you put first. So if you don't have equipment, you can't develop your people. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. That's a very good point. So we are going, thank you both. Thank you to all the speakers from the first part, from the EIT Manufacturing, and then also Miro, and then Professor Janic from speaking about the situation in Croatia. And we are going to move to our panel. So really continuing to discuss Croatia, but maybe a little bit differently, and because we are going to focus on not just what is there, but what we can do to strengthen the manufacturing innovation. So with that in mind, I will introduce all the speakers to you, and then we will move to questions and discussions. Absolutely feel free to ask questions in the chat, and then I will pose them to the speakers. So in terms of our speakers in the panel, we have with us, I would say, a really balanced panel and people who are very active in the innovation space, so much that I am a little bit overwhelmed with all the competencies and expertise with all the speakers. So bear with me, but to start, we have Antonija Mršić-Radas. Dr. Mršić-Radas is coming from Rimac Automobili, so the automotive company, and she is EU Funds and Regulatory Government Affairs Manager there. So hello, Antonija, and welcome.
Hello, thank you.
Hello.
Nice
We also have, thank you. We also have Assistant Professor Ernest Vlačić. Ernest is somebody who is very involved in innovation community, I would say in various roles, and I couldn't put all of them on this introduction, but he is a CEO of Novamina, a company, innovative company that really drives innovation projects with other partners, and also president of the National Thematic Innovation Council for Energy and Sustainable Environment. And we already have some, I would say, questions for him in his role as a representative of this body. So hello, Professor Vlačić. Hello, Ernest.
Yeah, hello, everyone. I hope everyone can hear me. And well, thank you, Vlatka, for introducing me. I will say that I'm really acting in that famous triple helix form, covering all three areas, and I guess I'm kind of at least partially successful in all of them. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. We also have with us Marin Beck. Marin is CEO of Ascalia. It is a company that does have solutions that is helping other organizations to transform, to improve their manufacturing processes and to assess them. Ascalia, if you were watching very carefully at the beginning when Hannes was doing his presentation, Ascalia is one of the companies that applied for the Boost Up. So one of the competitions that EIT Manufacturing has already. So we are very, very happy to have Marin with us. Marin, if you can connect and wave that we know that you are here. Yes.
Hello.
Hello, Marin. We also have with us Professor Ivan Petrovic. Professor Ivan Petrovic heads the Laboratory for Autonomous Systems and Mobile Robotics at University of Zagreb, Faculty of Electrical Engineering and of Computing. Of course, as with many of our speakers, it just scratches the surface because he's been involved in so many initiatives that aim to improve the innovation capacity, both of his faculty, but I would say of the country as a whole. Professor Petrovic, we're very happy to have you with us as well.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and I'm looking forward to the discussion.
And we also have with us Karla Tomasic. So Karla Tomasic is acting production manager and Coca-Cola Hellenic Bottling Zagreb company. He has, so we are looking forward really to his experience in I would say optimizing processes and working with both academia and other companies in reaching this objective. Carlo?
Yeah, I'm here. I hope that you can hear me.
Yes, loud and clear. Okay, thank you. Thank you all. We will start, there are many, I would say, facets that this discussion, how to strengthen manufacturing innovation in Croatia can go. What we did here a little bit in the beginning, we of course heard the role of EIT as a community. Then we heard about, I would say, projects that Faculty of Mechanical Engineering and Naval Architecture was involved with. Also heard about examples from industry. What we maybe haven't heard in this first presentation is this role of the government, of the local government. So I might start by putting Ernest on the spot here a little bit. And if you can, help to fit this other piece of the puzzle and give us a little bit of an overview, what is happening now with the processes that you are involved as the president of National Thematic Innovation Council in terms of planning and in terms of further innovation support.
Okay, so you have put me in front of one of the helices that I have to respond. First of all, I really have to thank all the previous speakers, because we have heard so many quality informations, either from EIT as the institution that is really boosting the innovation in Europe, and also from our Croatian speakers that were very specific, and also they brought us and they have shown us very tangible cases where the innovation can be put in place, especially in Končar, because this was interesting. I was observing that presentation. This is technically not a product innovation. This is a process innovation, which is also interesting. We are less funding process innovations in Croatia, but I guess they would really have to assume the equal importance in really being supported and funded by various instruments that are supporting innovation. I wanted to stress with also my predecessors the importance of the manufacturing as one of the crucial sectors in every single economic system. Just to give you an overview on what is happening in Croatia, because I'm just writing a paper to be published. We have seen that in Europe, we have 60% of the manufacturing on the average GDP of Europe. Well, this is very interesting. What is also interesting for Croatia, you wouldn't say that we have the share of the manufacturing at, I would say, at about 25%, which is, we are calling it here procesna industrija, odnosno processing industry, and this is, and I would say this is a decent share, but we have another problem. When you aggregate all the other service offerings that our ecosystem is bringing onto the market, then the service is overwhelming even more than 2 or 3 times the manufacturing, and this is not good. Why? Because we are not resilient in that sense, and we are not robust economic system or economy of we are calling it small open economy. So Croatia is small and open economy. So our ecosystem is really vulnerable on the recent COVID crisis because of the crash of our touristic seasons, and it's also vulnerable to all other economic crises, for example, the financial one in 2008, and we'll see in the future what will happen. So what then the government is doing or should do in order to boost that manufacturing segment. Yes, Miro has presented us the efforts that are being done from the financial, I would say, from the financial perspective, but on the structural perspective, we have in place finally, after many years, a functional national innovation system that was only in theories, in concepts, in various other forms in the past. But now, since 2 years, and I'm seeing here also the among the audience, the practical practical actors in that innovation systems. Now we have a National Innovation Council at the top of the agenda or on the hierarchy, which has, if I remember well, which has gathered around 10 times last year, discussing really important topics, and also all key stakeholders of the innovation system of Croatia are participating in that council. Then on the level below, we have the Innovation Council for the Industry. And here also again, all or majority of important stakeholders are really proactively participating to that council. And then we have 5 thematic councils which are corresponding to our smart strategy specialization areas, S3 areas, which are covering those specific areas. And as Miro has informed us, these 5 billions of, I will say, a little bit of build up budget or overall budget is deriving from the from these 5 councils that have their members have applied, or other Croatian companies have applied for the budget. And well, I would just add that this is not all aiming to the manufacturing, but a good share of this value, of this amount of money is aiming to the manufacturing. So what is else? And one more thing, and then I will just leave the floor to someone else. What is really important now is to maintain that momentum. Why? Because we have also some foreign colleagues listening this debate. For Croatia, we have 22 billion euros available in the next, I would say, 10 years or something like this. And the larger part of these 22 billions will have to be invested in research, development, and innovation, and closely related to the economy. So it's to the business sector. This is not going to be a kind of blue sky money, and maybe some of it could be, but the majority, I would say at least 6-7 billions will enter into the innovation system of Croatia, or into the economy of Croatia. So we have to really all together work up to maintain that momentum that has already started. So I was that. So thank you.
Mute again. Thank you so much. I think you made a very good point in terms of this, I would say, structural issues in the economy, which are based on services, but also simple services. And also the other point is that we need to, I would say, like you mentioned, maintain momentum, and that is keep communicating and keep working together. So with that in mind, I will invite Antonija Mršić to join us a little bit with a comment. I'm sure people from Croatia, but not our guests from EIT, from other countries, they are not aware that Antonia previously, prior to joining Rimac Automobili, she had a very rich career in the public sector, in the Ministry of Economy and in the Innovation Agency. And she's now actually, so I would say, switched in other direction and working with the private sector on this government relations. And I think that this also indicates that, you know, companies, when they reach a certain stage, they have this understanding how having a long-term partnerships and long-term relationships with the government and other actors in the innovation system works. So Antonia, if you can really comment a little bit on you know, what was the idea, you know, for Rimac in creating this position, in really supporting the innovation and working with the government in that.
Thank you, Vlatka, for the nice introduction. I hope you all can hear me. Yes, I spent I think it's 7 years in the Ministry of Economy and Entrepreneurship, and 5 years at then called BICRO, Business Innovation Agency, where I really learned a lot about policies, processes, and politics. Now it's been a year already that I joined the company, so Rimac Automobili, which is the Croatian flagship company when innovation and technology innovation is concerned. So, but when I first joined the company, one of the topics that, or tasks that were expected from a EU department were related to implementation of already awarded projects, such as EIT 1. So because our contract, so our subsidy that we received was actually the largest in amount ever in Croatia. So we needed some more people to really help with the implementation, so public procurement and so on, which is a very difficult I think in all companies that have a similar grants. But you know, it's EU funds in a company. It's not just about implementation. It's also about preparation of different projects. And when I joined the company, I wanted to kind of diversify what we are doing, and not just to kind of passively monitor what's there with the structural funds. I wanted to, because I had knowledge about what is there, not only in Croatia, but also at the European level. I wanted to diversify what we are doing and to reach to other potential funding bodies. One of those is, for example, EIT Manufacturing, also EIT, so the energy, urban mobility, even digital. So we opened the discussions, and as it turns out, you know, the communication with those bodies is not that one-way street as it is with Croatian institutions. So you really have to be proactive. You have to participate different working groups, different meetings, and as you probably know, there are many different alliances now on the European level that have been formed. For example, European Battery Alliance, that is very, very important for us. So you need to take control over your destiny there, you know, and by taking control, I mean participation, and to actively participate, you basically need to have input for that. So what I did is to align with all the research and development departments here within the company, which are growing on a daily basis, and set up processes to identify potential projects that could be funded from different sources, so European or national. And this is a completely new approach that we are now taking when considering how we deal with EU funds. So it's more a proactive, creative approach rather than just being some kind of administrators of already awarded grants that someone else was doing for us. So basically, what we are doing is taking over a more strategic role within the company, and well, I hope to be able to even in a very a short period of time share with you some new information, very important information about some projects that we have in pipeline and that we are waiting for the European Commission to approve. And once that is what is done and open, and we can publicly say what it's about, I think this will open a completely new perspective also for other companies in Croatia, not only as a funding position, but also to kind of be an eye opener on why it's important to participate, the meetings, the working groups, and so on. So.
Thank you. Antonia,
I hope I answered your question.
Yes, absolutely it does. We will come back to you a little bit later with some follow-up questions. I don't want to maybe now move and ask our guest Karlo Tomasic a question because Rimac cars, Rimac automobile is of course very R&D innovation driven from the start. So this was how it was created and basically built up. With the R&D departments, and on the other, but we also have in Croatia, of course, globally, companies who are in fast-moving consumer goods space, which are very much, I would say, high throughput and production driven. So I would like to ask you, in your opinion and your experience, what is the scope then to implement innovations, whether it's locally in your plant, whether it's globally as a part of this wider Coca-Cola organization, and to share your experiences on that.
Thank you for the question. I know that most startup companies and small companies and companies that just started have a wider area for improvement, which Coca-Cola doesn't, let's say. But I think that this pandemic gave us a great chance to kind of step back and slow down and to focus on some other things that are important, even more important than productivity and production volume, and that is how can we do things better. Coca-Cola in Europe actually has a system which surprised me when I came to the company for successful practice sharing. So we call it the We Know portal. And actually, on a weekly basis, all operations from all 28 countries, which are in the same group, post their best practices, quick wins, lessons learned, and so on the portal, on the system, which is then available for all other countries to use. So I kind of implemented weekly meetings for that kind of topics. So on weekly basis, we go through all the things which were applied on the portal, and we look at things which we can apply in our production plant here in Zagreb and in Sarajevo, which I think gave us momentum in keeping innovations alive in the company. Actually, before I was a production manager, I was a continuous improvement specialist. So my main task was to tackle that kind of topics. And for example, those successful practices go even from sales department, from not just from technical department, but I think that I can share my story which happened, I think, in the first 2 months of me being here in the company. We had a challenge how to store some equipment parts, and the OEM which sold us the equipment didn't have the solution for that part. So I started thinking about how can we solve that thing. I drew up a sketch of one of those parts, and actually we built one of them, and we are using it on all of our equipment even today. So it was a vent tube holder for our fillers. And the company actually gives points to all the production plants and to all the operations in all the countries, based on, among others, based on the level of innovation which was shown in the year. So the company even rewards. We have kind of an internal competition for innovations between the countries. So I think which is a really good thing. If I can just reflect on one thing which Mira mentioned, I think that innovations for equipment, for technology, are far less complicated and far less time consuming than innovations for people, let's call it that way. Because in my experience, I have now 70 people, which is very time consuming just to talk with them, to get their ideas and to implement them at the end. When the equipment upgrades and equipment innovations take maybe far less time, they are financially more impacting, but I think that it's harder to impact people and to work on people than to work on equipment, definitely.
Thank you for this point. I think that I would say probably everybody would agree that it is more difficult, but also then more rewarding to work with people and then have these long-term results and see them grow as well.
And grow your relationship with them at the end.
Yes. So thank you for this. I will ask a couple of more questions for our speakers, but please also I want to urge you to pose, everybody in the audience, to pose questions in the chat. Feel free, don't be shy. And then yes. And then I will also be able to ask them to the speakers once I receive them. So we have heard the different perspectives, and I will now move maybe to two organizations that are, I would say, working with multiple other actors in manufacturing innovation space, but at the same time, even though they are in the same type of activity, they're very different. And one is the innovative new startup. The other is, of course, professor in the lab from a very established faculty of our university. So to maybe start with the startup first, and to pose a question for Marin. Marin, maybe you can tell us a little bit about your solution that you have as a company, but also, what have you observed in bringing this solution to other companies in Croatia and abroad, and helping them to implement it in their manufacturing processes? So what were the main issues that you have observed, and how did you help them solve it?
Hi, okay, thank you. So I'm co-founder of Ascalia, where for the last 3 years, we're working on a solution for digitalization of SME manufacturing companies. When I say digitalization, I mean from connecting the machinery that's usually disconnect and from various providers. So not so straightforward as connecting to a single point of data source in the shop floor. And then providing some value on top of this data. This is usually in terms of real-time and instant tracking of the production process, alerting and alarming on different problems in the shop floor, either on machinery or in the production process itself. And we also, our core actually is different types of machine learning and deep learning algorithms that aid in the production process. Here we have things from your standard predictive maintenance of machinery all the way to traceability solutions in disconnect manufacturing floors where traceability is not so easily implemented because of either bulky products or because of decentralized production process between different factories that are geographically in different locations. And we also do a lot of quality inspection of parts on the shop floor, since the main point when you do manufacturing is to detect any defects in products as early as possible, not once products are finished and ready for packaging, but the idea is to detect it as early as possible, and even if possible to avoid even the defects. So all of this is, let's say, a rounded solution for manufacturing companies, and our target market is actually exactly SME companies, for the sole purpose that they're the ones that cannot afford large capital investments into modernization. They cannot afford losing months and months because of replacement of their existing machinery with a top of the line manufacturing line of a new manufacturer, and they're also very sensitive to any disturbance to the manufacturing process. This, of course, comes with a lot of challenges when you deal with such companies, because as our initial speakers were explaining the landscape of SME manufacturing in Europe, which comprises the most of manufacturing actually in Europe, these are usually companies that have been around for the last 30, 40, 50 years, even longer, that started out as family companies and then they grew into what they're today. And we see that a lot in Germany, in Austria, even in Slovenia and Croatia. And this also brings together a problem that they often have equipment that's ranging in age literally from 20 years to yesterday. And this makes this digitalization process very difficult. But the biggest problem actually in our, let's say, sales process is education, because our target audience is not educated on what can new technology bring. They're not aware simply what the technology brings. They all heard of Industry 4.0. Everyone is pushing it. Even EU now started to push it everywhere, but it's still a very vague idea. Not to mention things like machine learning, AI, etc. But as an example, we were at one point at one company, like mid-sized company for Croatia standards, and after explaining everything and after showing what we can do in terms of defect analysis using cameras, the CEO of the company asked who looks at the video from the camera, who says that there is a mistake. And that was a bit of a, like you take a step back and you're like, okay, we need to discuss some stuff. The other day we had a situation where also CEO of a big manufacturing company in a neighboring country asked, after my 10-minute presentation, he asked, what is AI? Because he heard about it, but he's not clear what it is and what it has to do with his bottling of beverages. So this education of people of joining these two worlds, or if you want, three worlds, academia, which does cutting edge things, startups and companies that do the implementation, and the end customer is the biggest problem. We also have commercial activity in Germany and Italy, where this is less evident. So I would attribute this to the lag between Croatia, and the more west you go, the more clear it is. Mm-hmm. When I discuss with companies with factories in Bavaria, then there is no such problem. They often already have someone who is in charge of digitalization and Industry 4.0. But as we discuss with companies in Croatia, in if you want to say XU region, then this barrier is difficult. So it's not unusual to hear prospects who we know has problems, problems we see on the shop floor when we visit it, but there is no understanding that modern technology can help. That's when we usually do also education and some presentations and explanations, and we show case studies from similar companies to educate what is possible. Because for someone who is in a factory for the last 20 or 30 years, sometimes things that we do maybe sound like science fiction, but today technology definitely allows things that were not possible 20 years ago, not even 5 years ago.
Thank you, Marin. And thank you for this discussion. I know that we touched upon it before when we were also discussing this, privately. And I know that this is I would say, a lot of work that you have in preparation, actually, and working with the clients to be able to actually help them. And I think it really comes to what Professor Janic was talking about earlier, that people need to understand the needs very well, but they also need to understand how specific technology solutions can help them. And of course, if the startup is implementing solutions that they already have packaged as a product and something that can then apply to somebody processes, and all these issues also come into play when we have this collaboration between industry and academia. So for that, I would also, to close the first round of discussion, I would call Professor Petrovic, who has very deep career in working with the industry, but also working in industry on, I would say, complex R&D projects, so multi-year innovation projects, both with organizations here in Croatia, but also globally. So I would, if you can comment a little bit on your experience in how to bridge this gap in communication, so how to establish a long, worthwhile partnership with the industry partner and be able to help them in innovating within the manufacturing space.
Thank you, Latka. Could you please allow me to share my screen? Just one slide.
Yes, I think so.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you see my slide now?
Yes.
So this okay. So I will first tell a little bit about my research, my collaboration industry, and my experience, and what we are lacking, and how we could really improve and scale up all nice innovation activities what was presented by Marin, by other colleagues. But this is in Croatia is problem how to really engage a wide scope of companies, many companies, how to scale up this. That is the main issue. So as a professor, of course, I'm always on the left side of this. This is innovation level for readiness level, technical readiness level for innovation. So I'm a scientific researcher or doing basic research at the university. That's my main focus. But during the years, we really have developed quite nice algorithms that were appreciated and now used also by some companies in Croatia and also abroad. Just to mention, for example, in Croatia, in Rimac Automobile, we have a joint project that's direct funding, not area or something, with Končar, with Docking, with Rasko, with some new startups like Gideon Brothers and so on. Abroad also we have some like Bosch, Ford, and so really very nice collaboration. But the problem, and then by let's say last several years, maybe 10 years or more or so, I also starting and thinking why we in Croatia are not successful as other countries in innovation, and the main issue is that we are not organized. as a society. We have been talking 20 years or more about triple helix and even now quadruple helix, but no systematic actions with milestones are behind. That's the problem in Croatia always. Okay, it's easy to copy ideas from others, but to implement ideas, that's another story in Croatia. That's the problem. And then I propose in several occasions organization like this shown on this slide, or because we at university, we are doing basic research. And if you, or let's say young researcher, if you focus on one specific topic that maybe will be interesting to some company, let's say in 5 or even 10 years or so. But we need to speed up this transfer of knowledge from university to industry, because there is everything is going now. Exponential growth is now in this innovation ecosystems, and you do not have 10 years, wait 10 years for innovation to find its path to being in use. So, for example, in Croatia, we do not have research technology organizations that are backbone of, let's say, new high-level products, high technology level products, because universities do not have prototyping facilities. We have research equipment. Someone mentioned equipment, importance of equipment. Equipment is very important, but not that every lab has some equipment and then many the same equipment in many labs, but it is in use 10% of the time maximum. But we are lacking prototyping facilities, where, for example, SMEs, we are focusing here on manufacturing SMEs, or even also SMEs that are technology provider, could come and test their solution on these prototyping facilities, rent them, and for their service needs, and that's much cheaper for them. They do not have human capacity, don't have financial capital to buy the equipment and to have the equipment their property, and that's expensive for them. But that is how, let's say, government could help innovation ecosystems to have research technology organizations that would have such equipment, where working together with universities and companies, they are working on, let's say, so-called applied research projects. Then other organizations that might be useful to have, that we have, is science parks. Science parks are organizations, small organizations, but they are that connect these universities, research technology organizations, and larger companies together to organize research on more complex products, where no single company could develop everything alone. For example, if we have say tram car contract, manufactured by contract, but let's say if in the beginning, at the same time, some other companies that are companies were involved in project that could develop in parallel IT solutions that that the tram car is connected to let's say city traffic systems, that optimized systems, then tram car could be let's say could be much more competitive on the market, even abroad. And then I'm sure that this tram car maybe would be now in many countries across Europe. For example, then the tram car would be like an agent in the city traffic systems, transportation system. Then we have incubators. We have some such okay, for example, in Zagreb, and we have such organizations. And new organizations that European Commission has been forcing for the last couple of years, the digital innovation hubs. I myself, I'm involved Digital Innovation Hub, Croatia Hub, actually one of the founder of this Croatia Hub. This is a robotics Croatia Hub, but we're focusing mostly on how to help manufacturing SMEs with robotics and AI. That's our main goal. So we are a partner in several Horizon projects on this, but unfortunately, funding from our government is lacking. That's the problem. We are very well established and quite known in other European countries, but in Croatia not so well. For example, we are doing mentoring for Spanish SMEs, how to implement the new robotized solutions or maybe AI for their manufacturing. We're mentoring companies from Greece, from Ireland, from France, from Portuguese, but only one single company in Croatia until now, in the last couple of years. The problem is, and then we also provide through our projects, Horizon projects, open calls, where we, where a manufacturing company could get 250,000 euro for a one-year project to working together with a company which like Ascalia who provide some technology, working together, and we fund them with 250,000 euro, but no application from Croatia. We already had three calls, only one application unfortunately unsuccessful from Croatia, and hopefully we now very soon will have fourth, and which is last call. Hopefully we'll have one. We will have some Croatian companies. Why? So that is also digital innovation hubs importance of there. So digital innovation hubs, the purpose is to speed up innovations that are already on the market, speed up their implementation in industry, particularly in manufacturing industry. And then we help SMEs with also to get funding for this. Not only we are our project, but that is role of digital hubs to help manufacturing SMEs get funding. Also, not only like a technological help to help them, let's say, make the concept of fruitful concept of their solution, how they could implement some digitalization of their manufacturing, but also how to get funding, because some of them has a possibility to fund such innovation, but many of them couldn't do that. That's let's say how we should organize. This is my opinion, how we should organize innovation ecosystem in Croatia. But each of these entity here, in this ecosystems, to reach this value of that is very important, and need to have like incentive to work together and really to see that industry see the benefit of the university. If industry see the benefit of the university, then we could increase the funding for our university research university in our field. As I think colleague Fegetis mentioned, funding in Croatia is about less than 1%, about 0.8% for R&D. But the problem is also that funding from industry for private funding is very low. That's also a problem. We need this. Several colleagues mentioned this EIT projects, this European Social Funds projects. I participated in this project, have been participating since 2009, even from previous call. I think 8 projects, but the problem with this project is that many of those projects, for example, at my faculty, I think we are currently about 40 projects, 55 applications, but more than 40 projects are in phase of accepting or being already accepted. But the problem is that there is no companies' expectations is a big problem. For example, companies that do not have R&D itself, themselves, that's the problem, because then they expect from a university a turnkey solution which we couldn't provide. That's the issue. That is why we need this organized system. That is what I would propose, that we need this. For example, I myself really didn't want to enter in some. I was invited by several companies to join R&D this ED projects. I denied for those that do not have research themselves. Otherwise, I had one bad experience in one company, but that's the problem also with this evaluation of these projects. That, for example, you have this agency like tema, bila, or sata. They mostly evaluate the projects based on the financial data, administrative data, but not real proper evaluation of outcomes of this project. So I think the impact these European structural funds would have could be much better, much stronger if we have organized innovation ecosystem as presented in these slides. Okay, maybe I took too much time.
Thank you.
To answer the questions.
Don't worry. Thank you very much for this I would say analysis and really comments on the innovation system. I think that there is lots of room for improvement, to say it very politely, and that is also one of the reasons why we are all here together, to connect people who are working on different facets and see how for the future we can collaborate and bring solutions, not just in the manufacturing space or in a single innovation, but really working on the whole ecosystem. There is an excellent comment. Actually, there are several excellent comments and discussions going on in the chat, but I will just first bring to your attention to one, and that is really that to move and to have more innovation activity in manufacturing, there is absolutely need for first cross-industry collaboration, which is what we have seen. So different types of industry working together, and also collaboration with academia. And a follow-up comment on the same topic is that there is a need, I would say, for domain experts. So people, yes, institutions, but institutions who then have people who are able to bridge all these gaps, whether they are big gaps or the small gaps, and really bring everybody to the table. We are running a little bit late because we started a little bit late, but we are trying to see how much discussions we can still have. So I will ask one follow-up question to Antonia, and then after that we'll basically open the final round with the final question for the panelists. So maybe just a quick question for Antonia, because Professor Petrovic mentioned this topic of collaborating with companies and how sometimes it works, but sometimes it doesn't, because the expectations are different. So to then ask your perspective or the company perspective, in building the collaborations with external partners, whether they are academia, but also they can be SMEs. What are the factors that you are looking for, and what are the things that are most important to you as a company?
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you. That's a very, very good question, actually. And when I was listening to previous speakers and also reading the comments, now being at a company, I would say I have a little bit of a different approach to the topic. Maybe because we are not really a typical Croatian company, because what we are doing is, from the industrial point of view, very, I wouldn't say new, but not typical, because Croatia doesn't really have a good industrial base. So what actually we do need from the academia, but maybe more from education system, not the research system, are the the people that are educated to actually work on this very technological demanding areas. For just to be concrete, for example, we don't have education institutions or even courses that will deal specifically with battery technology. And all of our staff are basically trained here. Also, it's on the job training. So this is something that we are working on to build alliances with universities to build maybe even new curricula for the skills and for the knowledge that we can use. So this is first thing. And when talking to research, we are also talking to many international universities that are maybe more experienced in the automotive. So the research that can be applied in the automotive, because we in Croatia don't have automotive industry, so it's difficult maybe to really get what we are expecting from Croatian faculties or universities. Unless it's a really research phase, so really scientific research that still needs to be further developed to actually be implemented. But we are in a lot of talks with, I don't know, Cambridge, for example, with some of the German who are obviously very, very experienced in automotive. But I would pinpoint that most collaboration in our case is business to business. So it comes from our suppliers and actually from the value chain. And it's not only a supplier and customer relation, because majority of whatever we are looking for from our suppliers, it also entails a part of research and development, because there is no off-the-shelf product that we are buying, and everything either as a service or a parts. Everything needs to be customized for our needs. It needs to be, it needs some extra research and engineering hours for them to be able to deliver what we are looking for. So it's not a one-way street. It's actually a collaboration of an exchange of knowledge, and it's not just technological knowledge, it's process knowledge. And when speaking about manufacturing, what we are now doing is also talking to some potential partners from the industry, from some countries that have more experience in manufacturing, in automotive, that could help us set up processes for our future mass production, because we are still now in, let's say, mid-size volumes, and we are now building our production lines and prototyping and pilot production line for mass production. And for that we need outside help from and we identify that this help can come from companies that are specializing in providing such services, for process optimization, for automation, for implementing different, I don't know, AI, industry 4.0 methods, techniques. So it's a myriad of different new type of processes that we that also take care of the environmental footprint, you know, the security issues in the production lines. So this is not just a normal supply contract. This is actually a development contract. So this is a type of collaboration that we are focused on, that we benefit the most from.
Thank you, Antonia. And I will pose a similar question now also to Carlo, because from his perspective and his needs in optimizing processes, who are your main partners in bringing innovation to your company? Is it the small companies? Is it the academia? Is it somebody else altogether? We can't hear you.
Is it okay now?
Now
Yeah.
it's good. Now it's good.
Yeah, sorry. I think, in my experience, my main partner was our other operations, to be honest.
Okay.
Because we as I mentioned already, we are keeping that knowledge inside the company, and it fluctuates between the operations. And on the other hand, I have to mention Faculty of Mechanical Engineering in Zagreb as well. Unfortunately, the pandemic broke out, but I think that we can continue with cooperation with the faculty in the upcoming years. I also got some students who are interested in working here for their projects, for even maybe for some thesis projects. So I think that it will bring us some fresh view on some things, because okay, I'm here for not that long, but I know that when someone works in the system for a long time, you kind of get narrow in your scope. So everything that comes from the outside is really fresh knowledge and fresh view. If that answered your question.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah. And this is why we are asking to sort of bring it, I would say, to the audience, because obviously people, it's absolutely natural to look at things from your perspective, and then it's that exactly is why we're having a discussion. And I think that the way you answered your question, actually, it is an introduction to this final round of our panel, or the final question. And this is the question of fresh talents, because you mentioned that bringing in students and bringing in new people, it is crucial for the perspective. And I think that for you also as a company, we're starting working with students, you are able then to build those relationships, and then maybe bring those some of the students to as employees when they graduate, which is also very, very important.
Absolutely.
And what we had this discussion going on, I would say in the comments, it is this question about human capital, about talents, and Hannes actually posed a very interested comment, or I would say an issue or a thought, that there is a bit of a stigma attached to the manufacturing careers as such, as opposed to careers in STEM, looking at pure technology careers. So people would associate, pure technology careers as something positive, but maybe have not made the connection in seeing how this STEM is actually part of the manufacturing, or how that engineers go and work in manufacturing and have very, very rewarding jobs. And that is important, because as we know, lot of times parents are sort of helping drive early decision careers for their kids. Of course, this changes later on, but we cannot underestimate this general population I would say view of the topic. So in this final round is to come to this, I would say, human capital question, and we have several people here who are engaged in academia, and I would really like to see your comments in both how much from Professor Petrovic, but also I would say from Ernest, who has another hat, and among his many hats, is that he has been teaching very regularly at various, I would say, University of Applied Sciences, at management programs. So both from your perspective, from the technology point of view, And then from the management skills and capacities point of view, how do you see this talent situation? Do you see people interested in manufacturing? Do you see ways how you can bring this topic to them? And I would say, how do we build skills which maybe don't have manufacturing labeled on them, but are very much important later for our career, such as analytical skills, problem solving, and also communication. So maybe Professor Petrovic, if I can ask you first to speak from your perspective at the Faculty of Electrical Engineering, and then Ernest after that.
Thank you, Vatka. Yeah, this is a really difficult issue. For example, at my faculty, last a couple of years, maybe 5 years or so, the programming becomes very popular among students because they could work for many international companies, and their salaries are twice or even 3 times bigger than they could get, let's say, in manufacturing industry and this so-called all classical industry. That's one big problem. Why? From my point of view, for society, impact is not so big from these people, because many of them working remotely, for example, for the United States companies. You know, for example, my students, for example, internship now in Amazon, active all around, and then when they are here in Croatia, they back, okay, they spending their salary here, but then they are freelancers, earning from 300,000 kuna to 1 million kuna per year, for example. Okay, that's for them perfect. And then their tax is very, very low for them. This is really, but with this, and our government actually closing eyes on this because we all want that such people are here, but they didn't bring much value to the society. They could. They are in Croatian companies. For example, also in ICT companies in Croatia also suffering. They couldn't get talented people because they working remotely for companies abroad, and not for Europe. Very few for Europe. All companies in the United States, mostly, and some, let's say, Singapore and so on. This human capital building is most important. As I think someone mentioned, I think colleague Pegadic, he mentioned the problem. For example, these projects, European Structural Funds projects, we have fixed salaries, and that is fixed salaries, and then we couldn't pay like costs for travel or other costs. We should pay them in addition. Which is stupid rules just in Croatia. For example, my students, I could, not me, but at faculty could now keep any more the best students here. And what is because they had the salary they could get in industry is twice or 3 times higher than we could provide. And I think we should change this, but the problem is that I'm as professor. My salary is actually I'm as public servant. My salary is fixed. If I'm working on innovation or not working on innovation, have many projects or no projects, salary is fixed, the same. That's the problem. And also PhD student salary, the same. That's the problem. I really support my students after they get PhD, they go to industry. For example, in total, I had 18 PhD defended under my supervision. 14 of them are in industry. Only 4 are somewhere in academy. So I support this. But the problem is when the best students give up from the PhD because they go to industry for a job for which they are overskilled, but because of salary. That's one big issue, and I think that's a big issue for long term, also for these companies. The companies now, okay, they need smart people, but long term, I think they are losing this because these people, young people, best people working in industry, working at university for PhD, they could bring a much higher value after 5 years long term. That's the problem in Croatia. I know some other countries, but maybe I spend also much time. For example, in Sweden, in domain of AI and autonomous systems, that's my domain. Big companies and government decide they organize like they pay 100 new PhD students for this domain, because these PhD students, 100 PhD students will be main people that will lead innovation in these companies, let's say 10 years from now.
Yes.
That is how we should organize. The same for manufacturing. That's general. How we can build the human capitals. We need to organize. If we need innovation, for long-term innovation, we need to make incentives to university and help universities and keeping the best students, not because these students could bring better value to companies in 5 years than now. That's my.
Understood. So looking at really at I would say the lifelong career of the person and what would be the best decision to make, and trying to have all the conditions, including financial conditions, as optimal as possible.
Absolutely.
To enable this. I will, Ernest, I mentioned that I will ask you this question, another question about the talents and human capital, but maybe from another perspective, looking really at this business competence and not just technical and technology competence. So how much are you working with, I know that you are teaching with different students, to enable them to be drivers of innovation in their own companies, I would say in general, but also especially in the manufacturing field. You need to unmute.
Yeah, thank you for that question. This is indeed, but not only the one which is related, I would say, to innovation management as it is, but this is a holy grail of the whole story that we are now discussing here. And I will try to link a little bit of other issues into that discussion and then try to touch down. So what is very important here to understand is that the European Commission has defined the manufacturing as a backbone of its economy for the next, I don't know, 50 years or whatever. So we do have also here to do the same or similar in Croatia, because as other European countries were deindustrializing in the future, so we did as well. And we have to reindustrial ourselves, as I said before, to rebuild the resilience and robustness of the industry. But yes, that requires talents. That requires talents which are basically created in the STEM areas, and that also require talents which are able or capable to manage the innovation from the business perspective. I do indeed teach in universities and higher education organizations innovation management, which a little bit shifts from the technical management I'm also a witness of what was the Johannes comment here, that people are kind of flocking away from the technical sciences and really trying to establish themselves into, I would say, rather say societal sciences or similar sciences, because as it is in this article explained, young people or their parents are not willing their children to get their hands dirty in the manufacturing industry. And well, this is a wrong paradigm. Even if it's not wrong paradigm, it's wrong from the perspective, as I said, that we have to reinforce our industries by investing more. And I'm sure that in the next 5 to 10 years, we will see more investments focusing on the real strengthening the manufacturing. then precisely to answer on your question, yes, I'm working with kind of business economy oriented students, but whose awareness on innovation and technology is getting stronger and stronger from the day to day. For example, in I would say not so technically oriented universities like in the north or even here Baltazar, we have introduced the modules that are directly dealing with the innovation management in corporations. But not only that, we used to go one step beyond. So we have even introduced a module which is the innovation management in the public sector. So we were so creative somewhere else, and we did it in a very particular way. So I don't want to say that. I want to say that you don't have just the innovation in a business; you have it elsewhere, and we have to prepare people who are skilled and who can understand the basics of the innovation also somewhere else. But there is a very important issue here when we are speaking about talents on our young experts and scientists that have recently, or not recently, in the last, 10 or 20 years, immigrated outside of Croatia. And this was a terrible brain drain that we have witnesses in the last period. And I'm sure, and I will work and I will try to propose certain ideas how to bring them back, at least for a very limited period of time, to transfer their knowledge, their skills, their experience with the industry, with the academia, with even public sector, if you want. For example, just paying them for a single plane ticket to be back for a few days, I guess this could work somehow. And then in this period, they have to exchange their ideas. So we do not have at all a great situation with the talents, but I'm sure, and I'm working with students, and I can see an increase in their quality and engagement and understanding the topics as the time passes. So I'm a believer and I'm optimist on new generations that are coming now. You know.
Okay, thank you for this, and thank you for this optimistic note, because this is what we are going to end our discussion and our event. I will mention there are very interesting comments in the chat, so if you want to scroll and also look at those a little bit. I know that Miro, Assistant Professor Hegedic from Faculty of Mechanical Engineering and Naval Architecture, is also mentioning initiative working with students, and he will share the results as soon as they're ready, which also will help to bring more students in the manufacturing field and area. And I would also like to say everybody else, you know, since now we are have been able to discuss something jointly, and we have sort of virtually met in a way, feel free absolutely that if you have new initiatives that you would like to share with the community, to do so. And with that in mind, I will close this session now, thanking all the panelists in the last session, but also taking all the speakers from the previous sessions. So Professor Janic, Professor Hegedic, and our speakers from EIT Manufacturing, Konstantinos and Johannes, who presented all the opportunities that the EIT Manufacturing as a knowledge innovation community has to offer. If you had any questions on that as well, you know, feel free to contact them or to contact us as a hub, and we will put you through. So with that in mind, I really do want to thank everybody in the audience as well, you for being with us, for asking questions, and for taking part. to wish you all the success in all your work with innovation and in the manufacturing field. And please feel free to stay in touch, of course, with us after we close this session. And with that, I am going to say goodbye to you all and really have a good rest of the day and keep in touch.
Ciao.